Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the farm. So it is the beginning of August and the garden is just completely rocking and rolling. We are starting to get good harvests of everything out there. So today we're just going to give you a little bit of an update as to how everything's doing out in the garden. But the first thing I'm going to show you guys and talk about this morning is this sweet watering cart that Dad and I got put together. Having this tank on wheels has made my life so much easier, not having to drag garden hose from the barn all the way over to the garden, all the way over to the chicken coop on the other side of the garden, the pumpkin patch that's over on the other side. Being able to pull this cart around has just been a dream compared to dragging around 300 feet of garden hose. So what we've got here is a 125-gallon tank. There's two types of hose on it. Here, we just have this little hose on a valve, so we can just open this valve here and fill up little watering cans and stuff like that. But then we also have it on this little pump. This is a NEMA 3R rated pump, which is an outdoor rating. NEMA is the National Electrical Manufacturers Association, so those ratings that they provide tell you what the pumps are rated for. So a 3R rating is rated for outdoor, waterproof, weatherproof. So that one runs off of a little battery that goes in here. It's over on the charger right now, but all that is a little lawnmower battery. And then we put the hose reel on it, so I can just pull the hose reel out. I pull this tank right over to the garden, pull it right to the pumpkin patch, right to the chicken coop, whatever it is I need wherever it is I need the water, and it makes it a whole lot easier. So then all I've got to do is I drag the hose from the pump inside the barn, put it in the tank, and then here in the pump room, we've got this little pump in here. It's just on a switch. Get the tank all full up. So I get it pulled out to wherever it is that I need to use it, and then it's super quick and super convenient. And all we got to do is hook up our leads. Positive to positive, of course, negative to negative. Open up our valve here. Fire the switch. And we got water. But like I made mention of a little bit ago, the harvest is really about to start to get rolling. You know, I've been picking beans here and there. I've gotten a couple of tomatoes now, but starting to really see some color on the tomato plants, starting to really see a lot more beans on the bean plants. Mom really had a tremendous squash harvest over at her house. I guess that was like the end of June, the first few weeks in July. We were just getting zucchini and yellow squash out the wazoo. I didn't plant any of those because she had planted so much. We kind of did that on purpose, knowing how prolific those squash plants can be. But before I get any further, let's go ahead and show you guys around the garden real quick, show you what everything's doing. Well, the pepper plants have just been thriving. Here on the end was those habanada peppers, which are those heatless habaneros. I've started to see blooms on them, but I haven't really found any peppers on them yet. But these are the chocolate bell peppers. They are just absolutely covered in beautiful peppers. And then it's kind of the same over here with these. These were the Syrian three-sided peppers. That was one of those free seed packets that Baker Creek sent me. I've seen blossoms on them, but haven't seen any actual fruit yet. And then down on the end, I'm starting to get jalapenos on these grande jalapenos, and they're living up to their name. You can see, I mean, they're well up past waist high. They are big old pepper plants. And we'll work our way to the front over here. I guess my sweet potatoes are doing good. I don't really know. Don't have any experience growing the sweet potatoes before, but the vines are doing their thing. It's working its way up out of the container. Over here, I just started last weekend some new bean plants, so you can see them. Some of them are starting to sprout. I think there's enough time that I should be able to get these plants to maturity and start getting some harvest out of them before the weather gets too cold. Carrots are doing okay. I've picked a couple of carrots. They were delicious, but they were pretty small. And then I got these bean plants here. You can see they have a few beans on them. I mostly just pick these and snack on them while I'm working out here. And then more little bean sprouts growing down in this pot too. Reason being that I did all of these bean plants in pots. We'll get down there in a second, but down on the other end where I planted, I think it was a dozen bean plants on a panel down there, I have had zero luck with them. Between I think rabbits have been munching on them. I haven't seen anything out there, but I assume that it's rabbits because something's just been chomping them right off. And then I don't know if it's been June bugs or what, but they got decimated. I only have one of those 12 plants left. We'll work our way to the back. See these bush marigolds, these Indian marigolds. They're so big they can't even hold themselves up. I don't know if maybe next year I need to cage them somehow or something, or just kind of let them do their thing, but they're beautiful. You can see my tappies, the heritage tappy tomatoes. Starting to get some beautiful color on those. Pan over here, starting to get some color over here on the Amish pastes. As you can see, I just have tons and tons of fruit. And these paste tomatoes, I mean, some of them are just absolute giants. I mean, I'm by no means the tallest guy in the world, but as you can see, I mean, these tomato plants are getting well up over 6 foot tall. And then my pride and joy back here, my beautiful gourd trellis. Don't have a ton by way of gourds on it at this point. Got this big old boy. And got another one hanging over here on this side. Those are really the only two I've seen so far. But man, this thing looks awesome. And then what I've done here on the back side, since it filled out so nicely and it's supposed to keep growing for another couple of months, I went ahead and stretched some strings from the trellis back here to the panel that I put back here for the beans. Like I said, I know you see green down here, but all that is weeds growing up because I'm not really taking care of it anymore. There's one little bean plant left down on the end. The rest of them have just completely died out, been eaten or just destroyed by bugs. So I decided I'm going to try to get these vines to climb across to the panel, and then all these vines that are growing along the ground, I just keep pulling them across this way, and I'm going to try to get them to come up the panel, and maybe I'll get this whole thing covered too, because like I said, you don't harvest these gourds until first frost. So we've got quite a while before this plant is even going to die back. So we're just going to let it do its thing. We'll work our way back towards the front again. You see lots of fruit over here on these ones too. These ones are called black Trifele tomatoes. I think that's how you say it. Trifele. And then the atomic grapes over here. I mean, these are just absolutely covered. This trellising method that I used with the panels, I am really liking it. I am getting way better fruit production than I got last year, just trying to tie them up to stakes, keeping them up off of the ground. The Tappy's Heritage on the far side, and then the Amish pastes and the atomic grapes. Those are all indeterminate tomato varieties, which means that they're just going to keep growing and growing and growing. On the end, the black Trifeles, those are a determinate tomato variety. So that means that they're going to hit a certain size and they're going to stop growing and just keep producing fruit. So it's almost like a bush tomato versus vining tomatoes. These atomic grapes produce some of the most beautiful fruit sets. Once these start to go ripe, they'll start to get some red and some orange and some yellow in there with those dark purple stripes. So before I forget, I want to give a couple of quick shout outs. First, I want to give a shout out to my boys over at Haas Tools, Travis and Greg. They read my question this week on their Row by Row garden show, which for my money is the best gardening channel on YouTube. Haas Tools. They give the best information out of all of the different channels that I watch. Their videos are pretty much strictly educational, but man, they give out some of the best information when it comes to taking care of your garden and tips and tricks for in the garden. So thanks guys for the sweet hat. I really appreciate it. Next, I got to give a shout out to my boy Mike at Safe Haven Farm. So he gave me these tomato plants here in the front in these cages, and then round back he gave me these ground cherries. So I saw him on the 4th of July, so it hasn't even quite been a month yet that these have been in the ground. But these tomatoes here, these are called an Olpalco tomato, Olpako. They are a San Marzano variety. So they grow great sauce tomatoes. And then these are ground cherries down here. And if you're not familiar with ground cherries are a little cherry that grow on these little bushes here, and they come in these little like papery husks. So if you've seen them before, you know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, they're unlike anything else that you kind of ever really seen before, but they're really cool. Like I said, they come in these little papery shells. You peel the shell off, and there's this pretty light orangish fruit on the inside that is super, super sweet, has a very unique flavor. So I can't wait for those to start coming in. It's probably still gonna be a little while. Like I said, they've only been in the ground about 4 weeks. It hasn't even quite been a full month yet since the 4th of July, and it was probably like the 6th or the 7th by the time I planted them. So these replaced, I don't know if you remember, but this was where I had planted onions and carrots and some broccoli. The onions and carrots got completely taken over by weeds. Well, the broccoli did too, but turns out that broccoli is a cold weather thing, so I probably shouldn't even have planted it when I planted it. So even had it come out, it was heading into the hot season, so it probably would have bolted and not been very successful anyways. So when you're doing this kind of thing, especially for me, you know, this is only my 2nd year doing a big garden like this. I'd done some container gardening a little bit before, you know, tomatoes in pots on my porch and stuff before I moved out here to the farm. So there's a learning curve to all this stuff, but don't be afraid to try it though. The information is out there to be successful. You know, most of what I've learned from trial and error and from watching YouTube. And there's tons and tons of great information on YouTube. And for the most part, everybody that I follow on YouTube, they're all super willing to give information. You know, if you try to correspond with people, if you're having a problem, you know, leave a comment in their comment section and everybody will get back to you. So if you're struggling with something, just reach out for help. You know, this year's going a whole lot better than last year. Next year's going to go better than this year went. It's all a learning curve. Just try it. Get out there and do it. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't grow. And then last, I want to give a shout out to my little cousin Cameron down in Texas. Cameron's in the 4th grade and he's thinking about joining FFA, you know, Future Farmers of America. So Cameron, go ahead, go out there, get you a chicken. It's awesome. I don't care what your mom and dad say. You need a chicken, man. Then the last thing I have to show off to you guys has probably been the biggest disappointment so far. Look at my pretty wildflowers in the back. But the corn. I did not do a great job with the corn. At least with the sweet corn. So over here, this is that gem corn that's gonna make a great popcorn variety. You can see it's starting to get its silks. It's tasseled at the top. Then over here, if you remember, this was my poor sweet corn. What's left of it looks terrible. And as you can see, had a little bit of a raccoon problem the other night. So mistake number 1 that I made with the sweet corn was putting it all the way over here on the far side of the garden where it's hard to get water to. Now that I have the cart, it's a little bit easier, but early season I didn't have the cart. My garden hose barely made it over here, so I wasn't watering it anywhere near as much as I needed to. So it really didn't do very well from jump. You can kind of see down here on this end, I mean, they're hardly even waist high. So that was mistake 1, and then mistake 2 was not staying on top of keeping the raccoons and stuff out of it. This same exact thing happened last year. I got popped up in my Facebook memories the day that the raccoon got in here and knocked over all the corn and ate it all. I got a Facebook memory that the same day last year I posted, does anybody know how to deal with raccoons in their garden? So literally almost to the day I was having the same problem last year. So Dad and I have been talking because they're having some of the same problems over at their house with raccoons and stuff getting into their tomatoes. We're talking about trying to figure out some ways to maybe do an electric fence for next year. Wouldn't be a good farm video if Pablo didn't show up for a little bit. So that should get you guys pretty much all caught up with what's going on out here in the garden. Some things are going great, some things went completely terrible and didn't go at all. But the key thing is that I'm learning, I'm taking notes so I can remember for next year, because obviously I'm not going to remember everything for next year. So I'm being sure to write some stuff down. I have these videos, thank goodness, to go back and reference. But I'm learning more and more every day, having more and more fun out here as I'm learning. If any of you guys see me anytime soon, get ready for some tomatoes to get stuck in your hand, because I'm going to have more tomatoes than I know what to do with here soon. I'm going to leave a link down in the description for the guys over at Haas Tools. Make sure you go and check out their channel, because like I said, they just do a tremendous job putting good information out there. But if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you got any questions, leave them down there in the comment section for me. And we'll see you guys next time.